Hello and welcome to DDOCast episode 578, recorded live on Sunday, November 3rd. I'm your host, Patrick. With me this week, we have returning to the show, Mr. Evilbeeker.
Good morning, everybody. Hope you remember to turn your clocks back.
Yeah, right? I actually did, in fact, wake up this morning and looked at the clock on my nightstand and, oh, why hasn't my alarm gone off? It should have gone off 10 minutes ago. Look at my cell phone. All right. All back an hour.
Yep.
You don't have to worry about it as much now, right? Because you got all these automated clocks, and like most people use a phone and for a clock instead of an actual watch. Takes care of all that for you. So great. Let's see. This week's screenshot. Thogella looks for healthy greens in a graveyard in the 438th screenshot of the week. Thanks, Thogella, for sending in this week's screenshot. Nice night revels and Halloween appropriate screenshot of the week this week.
I don't think he's going to find much broccoli out there, though.
Yeah, probably not. You never know. We like to talk about Dungeons & Dragons online nearly every weekend. You can catch us through Twitch, YouTube, the DDO forums, iTunes, or from our website, DDOCast.com. DDOCast is hosted by Cyber Ears, the awesome podcast hosting network, and shows are usually available within a few days of recording. The next show will hopefully be next weekend, and you can stay updated by following us on our social media pages or our website, DDOCast.com, with our calendar. On the podcast this week, we've got some fun stuff to talk about. We had Update 44 hit Lamania for the first time. We'll talk about some of the features involved in that, so the first preview. We also, we've been doing this the last couple times. Update 44 is going to include Keep on the Borderlands, which is a classic module, the next classic module that they're introducing into the game. And as we have done several times in the past, Evilbeeker is here to tell us about Keep on the Borderlands. It kind of gives a history and a look back at what this has looked like historically and where it comes from and that kind of stuff. We've done this before. We did this with Slave Lords, I think, was maybe the first time we did it.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
It's all a blur.
Yeah, that's fair. But we've done it a few times, and I think it's really, really cool and enjoyable. And thanks to Evilbeeker for putting together some research and notes and stuff like that for that. But before we get there, let's talk about game news, because there is some fun stuff. And while this is slightly less game-specific news, we're going to start by talking about the giving campaigns that SSG is doing currently. The first is Extra Life. If you have not been paying attention the last couple weeks, Sandstone Games is doing Extra Life again. Their goal is to raise $20,000. I think that may have actually been raised from $10,000, but they're currently at just shy of $17,000 going through November 15th. And they've got a whole bunch of fun stuff that you can get. There's incentives, including some ultimate ultimate Sharn codes that they are giving away. So that's pretty cool. So
That is cool.
And the minimum to do that is $10. That puts you in for the drawings for that. The number of codes will be based on how much money they raise. Although I believe that the amount was based off of they only really gave incentives for the first $10,000. Which is why I say I'm pretty sure that the goal was originally $10,000 and now it's $20,000. So we're past that, which means there's going to be at least 3 Ultimate Fan Editions of Masterminds of Sharn being given away, as well as a whole bunch of other some point codes and stuff like that. So really cool. And you don't have to give too much to be like I said, $10 gets you into all these different group incentive, and there's a whole bunch of individual incentives as well. So
Yeah, I think Jerry mentioned that SSG is like the biggest fundraiser for November for Extra Life for their area. So
yeah, so they give to Boston Children's Hospital.
Yep.
And they got a plaque last year for giving the most, raising the most money for that particular hospital, which is pretty cool. So hopefully, it'd be neat if they were able to do that again. Off to a pretty good start, I would say. Not that I know what the competition is. And just a quick rundown: Extra Life raises money. It's a Extra Life is a program that is focused on gamers raising money for sick kids. That's kind of the short
Right.
version. Through the was it Children's Miracle Network, Hospital Network, something like
Yes,
that.
yeah, something like that. A lot of children's hospitals, when the kids come in and they're sick and need care, they don't get charged. I mean, I know that's how a lot of the hospitals here in Wisconsin are the children's hospitals, and this helps go towards offsetting that cost so that it will keep everything free of charge for
Right.
helping sick kids get better.
So it's don't want to turn away kids who are sick, and this like I said, helps them cover the cost, right? So it's great.
Yep.
We love it. Um, right. So also going on, so starting this month, and this is something that Jerry has been doing for a little while. Uh,
Forever. I'm pretty sure.
yeah. That's not forever, but he's been doing it
No.
for several years.
Yep.
And this is Movember. So Extra Life started kind of as a Lotro thing. Uh, the people who were involved with Lotro, I think even before Jerry started working with then Turbine, now SSG, started doing Extra Life stuff, and Jerry started doing Movember stuff. And then uh, both Lotro and DDO said, "Hey, we want to give to the other one too." So
Right.
now it's just kind of an SSG thing. But anyways, so Movember is for men's health, is what it goes for. Um, and so he's they're also, I think, I don't know if it's new this year or I just saw it as being a new thing. They're also trying to reduce the rate of male suicide right now. Uh,
Oh, I didn't know that. Hmm.
yeah, so they're aiming to reduce the rate of male suicide by 25% by 2030.
Hmm.
So that's cool. But so this is about men's health and kind of promoting and raising money for that. Uh, and the goals are quite a bit less than the Extra Life. Jerry's going for a $3,000 goal for November. All the incentives are a little bit less exciting and less dollar amount. But it's still a great way to do that, and we'll link to both of these things in the show notes. So if you're interested in giving money to one or both of them, please do. That's fantastic and a great thing to be doing this time of year. So,
Hmm.
uh, also with that, Bonnie Bew is also doing some live streaming with Extra Life to raise money for that. Uh, she's calling it Weekend at the Wizard Kings. Uh, I know she did some yesterday. I believe she's doing some today, but I don't know what time off the top of my head.
Yeah, otherwise go to her Twitch page
Yep.
and watch the recording, then you can get the URL to contribute there.
Mm-hmm. And she is giving to, I want to say Duke Children's Hospital, but I don't know if that's right.
Yeah, it's the hospital where her niece is
Right.
in treatment. Yep.
Obviously, it's very personal to her as well, given that her niece is actually receiving support from these programs. So,
Right.
all right, we'll focus more on the game news now, and talking about update 44 and some other stuff. Uh, First, let's talk about hardcore for a moment. The hardcore league. Uh, Jerry did double check. Players will be able to interact with the free character transfer tool from the hardcore league server of their choice, whether they are VIP at the time of that activity or not. However, VIP access will still be required to actually log into the server. So, if you're not VIP in December, you should be able to, if you get all that stuff done prior to November 15th or whenever your VIP lapses, you should be great, and you can transfer all of that stuff, all those characters, without actually going into the game world in December. So,
But now I have a question.
sure.
When you transfer the character, do you have to have a free slot on that server?
Yes,
Or okay. See, that's super important because I don't think that's been mentioned as
it has.
much. But I haven't
Actually,
heard it.
specifically has.
Somebody said it to me the other day, and I'm like, oh, okay. Well, very
All
good.
of the normal transfer rules apply.
Got it.
The only thing that is different is that this transfer is free. Now, if you have bank tunes on that server, right, you could transfer it, get all the stuff off of it, and delete it, and then transfer the next one if you only have one slot, right? So
Sure.
you don't have to do it all at once. You can, but you don't have to do them all at once to make that work. So, I think that let me just double check real quick, but I'm pretty sure that's all the updates I have on the Hardcore League. It is, except for what's going to be in the release notes later. Let's see. Update 44, Preview 1. Keep on the Borderlands, which I assume is going to be the title. I don't know if they actually said what the specific title is.
I think it would. I mean, like White Plume Mountain was White Plume Mountain, so I would
Yeah.
think to, in a way, to promote the fact that they're recreating a classic adventure once again in DDO. I'm going to assume that they're going to call it Keep on the
Keep
Borderlands.
on the Borderlands, something at least. Anyways,
Yeah.
Keep on the Borderlands will be an adventure pack. It will be free to VIP and season pass holders. It will also be available in the DDO store for everyone else. So it's not an expansion, which means you should be able to get it right away. You shouldn't have to wait to get it for points, right? Like we when the expansions come out, they're usually 6 months behind on the store to try and get people to actually buy the expansion. But so you should be able to get that right away. We'll talk about there's a couple of different sections to kind of check in with here. So we'll start with the release notes. There's a couple of, so we'll get to the main features in a minute, but there's a bunch of small changes or bug fixes. I'm not going to go through all of them, and we'll probably do a more robust version of this when it actually comes out live. Perhaps, I don't know. We'll kind of see where it goes. But a lot of these are kind of fixy things, so they're less interesting. However, we will start with the base attack speed for bows and throwing weapons has been adjusted for a better experience in the heroic levels, while keeping the current maximum attack speed at base attack bonus 25 and above. This change approximately doubles the relationship between base attack bonus and attack speed, but adjusts the per level progression to provide less of a per level increase. Players at all levels should experience an increase in animation smoothness and attack speed, with the increase tapering off as your base attack bonus increases. Thank you. That's great. Bows have
Yeah,
always felt super slow to me,
yeah. That I'm just going
especially
to
at lower
say that
levels.
that's really at lower level bows are very painful to use.
Yes, very much so. Like that change a lot. Note that this does not include crossbows, for what are hopefully obvious reasons. I think it's safe to say that crossbows are performing just fine. They also never, I mean, they never really felt like they were slow to fire either. Like there's the reload time, but bows have that too. So,
Yeah, but even with the repeating crossbow, that's still compared to a first level bow. A first level
oh
repeating
yeah,
crossbow
no,
is, yeah,
absolutely. And I think it's
yeah.
one of the reasons why bows are not that popular these days, right? Like, just kind of painful. Some other stuff. Dodge values can no longer be reduced to below 0. This one is fun. Spells, admixture spells, now accept the accelerate spell meta magic. The accelerate spell meta magic is not trainable at this time.
Oops.
Um, I'm just gonna kind of assume that this has something to do with alchemists.
It was probably a fix that came up in when creating Alchemists.
Well, I mean, it's admixture spells, right? So
Right.
we're talking about like the throwing of a potion, which is supposed to be, as far as we're aware, a primary feature of alchemists. So one would extrapolate that this is probably has to do with alchemists, which are not
This might
coming
be the
out with update 44 yet.
right, and this might be the first of many changes regarding throwing potions in
Could be,
DDO.
yeah. Let's see, a bunch of other stuff with spells and well, not a bunch of stuff, but some stuff with getting things to apply more consistently, icons, and kind of some more boring stuff. However, Pale Masters characters may now benefit from the feat Rapid Reload while Zombie form is toggled on.
Okay.
There's a popular kind of build kind of archetype using Zombie form, which increases your damage with Inquisitive which is why
Got it.
that's coming up. It is kind of funny though if you're not really aware of that, right? So they fixed an issue. Also, in Knife Fighter, was telling Knife Fighter they fixed an issue with one of the Knife Fighter cores not affecting the two weapon fighting style. The enhancement has been rewritten to affect all melee combat styles. Cool. Let's see. Items in the categories of items. Items that grant negative spell power now also grant an equivalent amount of poison spell power. Tooltips have been updated to reflect this. That's kind of neat. I mean, one of the reasons why poison spells aren't super useful is because you couldn't increase their spell power. So that's kind of fun. I don't know. There's not really a ton of poison spells now. Looking at you, alchemists might have some more poison spells.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of guess. I've heard they've said that there's like 300 new spells, 100 new spells, something like that. A lot of new spells specifically for alchemists coming. So I'm sure this is another change in that regard. Several new Night Roll weapons that were dealing piercing instead of their standard damage types now do their standard damage type. Thank you. It was one of the nice things about getting a great axe and a warhammer was because I have slashing and bludgeoning, and they're all piercing.
Did not catch that one.
Yeah. Let's see. The fulcrum shift. So this is an ability on the piston boots out of Too Hot to Handle, which I'm sure everyone already has. Running Too Hot to Handle ad nauseum easily, and yeah. Anyways, it's now kick them while they're down. You have +5 to hit on and damage to enemies that are knocked down or stunned, which is pretty good actually.
That's cool.
Yeah, considering that it has like +20 some odd stunning to it, or something like that. Pretty nice. We're just gonna go ahead and call this release note the Strimtom release note. Crystal lasers and mirror puzzles have been updated. Laser sources no longer shoot a beam unless there is a mirror at the end of it.
Ah, that's interesting.
The harder to shoot your friends with lasers now.
Honestly, I like it the other way.
I'm not in disagreement with you. However, I think you have to think that this was not a thing until a certain individual shot someone in epic levels on hardcore.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal.
It was pretty funny too, but yes. Let's see, they have looked at the sound on footsteps. I didn't even realize this was a thing, which is kind of funny. I usually notice stuff like this, but apparently there are new footstep sounds for players adventuring on gravel-like terrain, and they have audited the existing footstep sounds and applied correct sounds to different terrain types. My translation to this is the sound guy was bored and needed something to do for a while.
So which sound setting is that though? Is that ambient sound?
Ooh,
Is that see? We need a little bit more. We need
that's a
to
good
know how to
question.
tweak our sound settings for this.
I don't know. Just play around with it. Figure it out eventually, right?
Yeah.
Some UI changes. The looking for group menu, the open group listing classes now properly includes warlocks and will no longer include epic levels as per its class designation. And there is a new plus side tab off of the stats tab on the character sheet menu. This displays the following statistics. Insert long list of statistics that will be listed. Some that you may like to know include incorporality, concealment, saves versus breakdown, insert type here, acid absorption, elemental absorption and resistances are in there, movement speed multiplier, spell cost reduction, threat multiplier, spell penetration, fortification bypass, dodge bypass, attack speed, offhand chance stuff, glancing blow stuff, melee threat multiplier, same with range stuff as well. All great stuff. I kind of wish that they would, list out a bunch of this stuff with, like they're not including a bunch of stuff that's on the character sheet, the main character sheet already, but it's hidden, right? So if you don't, if you're not aware, if you hover around, take your mouse around your character sheet and hover over different things, it will break out a ton of stuff. Like if you hover over hit points, for example, it will actually show you your healing, repair, and negative amplification, which is not really intuitive, right? Like that's I kind of wish they would take some of that stuff. I mean, leave it how it is, but break it out into this as well. Um, so,
Right. But there's still no listing for where you're bound.
there is a command that you can find that out though.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
slash resloc slash
Okay.
location will actually
I will
tell you
I,
where your soul is bound,
I will give that a try tonight.
or something like that. Also, so the dev that was working on this said that there's many replies here asking for detailed breakdowns for each stat. We agree that this would be a fantastic feature, but from a technical perspective, the final stored property value and the individual channel values, stacking types that are used to calculate it, are completely different game systems. It will require significant engineering work for the UI code to access these values, let alone creating the UI to display them. That being said, it is something we would like to implement in the future. Also, he added a number of stats based on feedback in the thread, including helpless damage, secret bonuses, sneak attack bonuses, some missing attack speeds. The movement speed multiplier will now also account for mounts and sneaking. Cool. Kind of fun. Let's see. Also, some other stuff. The open group listing for classes now probably includes what? Didn't they have that already? I read this.
I thought they did, but I don't go in there very often, so yeah.
All right. Well, it includes warlocks and no longer includes epic levels. Cool. The member list in the guild panel now properly displays the proper class icons if you have 3 classes and epic levels on a character. Hardcore League leaderboard now displays the rank number next to the character name. Neat. No more counting. Let's see. When a character dies, the text in the combat log telling you how you died is now an eye-catching red. That helps, but it's not. I mean, it just tells you what killed you, right? It doesn't tell you. It'll tell you that the thing that did 100 damage to you to kill you, but not the thing that did 1,000 damage before that to make you almost dead.
Right.
Players can now use the word hardcore in their guild message of the day.
Ooh. Oh, okay.
This is kind of funny. Let's see. The quest panel in the Veteran Compendium now displays heroic quest level and epic quest level in separate columns, and now allows for sorting by epic quest level. And it now defaults to sorting by heroic quest level and remembers your most recent sort order when reopening the window.
See, that's huge.
Yay!
Yeah, that's huge.
that is kind of nice. There you go. So those are the basic stuff. Now we'll talk about the loot briefly. We are getting new loot, of course. This is kind of brought up kind of an interesting discussion. So this stuff is level. Keep on the Borderlands is going to be level 1 to 2 in heroics and level 21 to 22 in epics. So there was some stuff about like some of the initial numbers on this were very low. So there's one of the things that Linnable kind of came in and said is there's some weird numbers that happen when you're doing this automatic scaling stuff. So like fortification is at 38% for this stuff, which actually at level 1 is pretty darn good. It's actually one of the few things that is actually pretty decent in here. But she agreed with some people who said that's kind of gross. She may step in and force it to conform to 5% increments, stuff like that. There's also, some level 1 numbers of various stuff kind of scales out to be kind of weird numbers, so she might kind of step in and kind of tweak some of that stuff as well. There's also so this is supposed to be stuff that's like comparable to or competing, shall we say, with Korthos Island, right? It's that same level range. So she said it's worth noting that's what these are, right? It's just like Korthos gear. Most of them, if not all of them, have a drop rate of 100%. This isn't meant to be best in slot, wear me until level 10 gear. It's for the alternate new player experience. She would consider any item on this level 1 list that becomes some coveted focal point to a build a pretty objective failure. Doesn't expect players to hold on to Spearbane or that one belt that gives +1 reflex saves in their TR cache, just as she doesn't expect them to hang on to a lot of this stuff, and you can find it and throw it on and then trash it when you find anything better. That's a win for engaging a new player experience. I mean, that makes sense, right? She
Yeah,
said
I mean,
she says if they need to add some sort of chain reward or something spicy, like some sort of Korthos mirroring series of set bonuses, that's doable. Can definitely throw in a few cool clickies, like Expeditious Retreat. It's very unlikely that the end quest guaranteed drop items will become high intensity, extremely coveted items, though, and they probably shouldn't be. They're level 1.
so are there going to be I mean, you're going to have like what was the example that she gave? Spearbane. So is there going to be a 21st level Spearbane?
I haven't gone through these super much. So the heroic stuff is all really small, like +3 bonuses to skills, +1 stat bonuses. There's a feather falling cloak, level 1 feather falling cloak, which is pretty nice with a blue slot.
Yeah,
There's a lot of stuff that actually has slots, which is pretty neat. But again, this is low level stuff. So, and there's actually a debate about like, what's the point of giving us a slot on a level 1 item? Then like anything you slot's gonna make it a higher level kind of a thing.
right.
And she
Unless you
basically
could,
said that, well, I could take the slots out, but it's your choice is either slots or no slots. Like they don't affect anything else. So
well, and on that same vein, though, couldn't you say that okay, when you get to 10th level, maybe you can upgrade this item? Maybe it's
I'm
unfinished,
pretty
something like that.
sure that no one is going to be using this stuff at level 10.
No, but you would upgrade it to something a little better. You would just have to throw it in your bank until level 10, kind of thing.
Again, there is no
Yeah,
augment in the world that I can think of that. Like to be
that's
honest,
true.
my opinion is like augments, just in general, like most of the augments that are lower level are not helpful. Or
Right.
like I can see arguments for things like feather falling or water breathing. You can get a heavy fortification augment for level 8, which is pretty good. Like that's probably the best low level augment you
Right.
can get. But like
Yeah.
the striding augment, 30% striding augment is level 20.
Yeah. No, those
So
first three that you mentioned, the feather falling, underwater, uh,
yeah.
those are in fortification. Those are the three that I always get
Now having
because
said
it's
that,
easy.
this stuff having augments on it, I mean, it gives you a place to put some of these low level augments that you can't sell and you can't really use effectively
Right.
otherwise. So
Yeah.
um, but there's a really good assortment. Just to kind of give some of the highlights of some of the stuff that's in here. Um, there are rings. So at the level 1 to 2 stuff, there's rings for most elements, or like the of damage. Um, there are 3 new weapon groups that you can get for uh, so there's 2 that you can get for one for every weapon type. One is silver and one is ghost touch for minimum level 2. I don't know
Mm.
how you get them yet. You might have to like collect some bits or something. But I mean, I think it's great that given where the game is and how kind of tricky it is to find ghost touch at low levels, outside of Night Revels, this is great. So you can get any weapon you want in Ghost Touch or any weapon you want in Silver, which is less of an issue, but the Ghost Touch is nice.
Yeah, the
Um,
silver I don't see as big of an issue. I mean, how many times did you run? Um, shoot, what's the quest? The one that's over by House C. Um, the catacombs.
Catacombs,
Yeah, for on hardcore before you get your
Ghost Touch stuff,
uh,
yeah.
ghost touch stuff. Yeah.
Not too much, thankfully. Now, granted, like the weapon out of there is better, right? But this is presumably easier to get. I guess I don't know.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So, but you've got silver and ghost touch options. There's also a scepter for each spell power type, uh, which is I mean that stuff stands out for the level 1, 2 stuff. Like that's what really stands out to me there. I mean, you're talking about a level 2 spell power type plus 43, lore plus 6%. That's pretty good actually
That
at
is
low
really
level.
good.
And if they're not
Yeah.
hard to get, that's a great option for TR and caster kind of stuff. So like those sticks, that's really nice. A lot of the other gear, like it's not gonna compare to other stuff in the level range at all. So
Have they said if it's going to be bound to character or account?
I don't remember seeing anything, but I'm gonna guess. Uh,
A lot of the
I'm gonna
Korthos stuff is
so
character.
I'm gonna guess that the stuff that is like all you're always gonna get it is probably gonna be character. Some of
Sure.
the other stuff is gonna be bound to account. Like the level 21s, 21, 22 stuff will probably be bound to account. Just
Oh,
some
right.
highlights out of there. Um, there's a physical sheltering cloak that has feather falling in it. That gets you physical sheltering and insightful sheltering. There's also a cloak that has that screams bards, that has insightful resonance and devotion and insightful dodge. That's great for a bard. Uh, there is a new level 21 trapper item for goggles that has plus 18 to all your trapper stats and a green augment slot. Pretty nice.
Oof.
Here's the one that I think is going to get a lot of people's attention: the black feather boots, level 21 feet slot, feather falling, freedom of movement, striding 30%. I didn't even finish the list, and you already want this item, right? Like that's pretty good. There's also a plus 10 Constitution boots
Nice.
that also has resistance 8 and life shield 28. Some other stuff. So, there's a ring for every stat that also had at level 21. So it's plus 10 to a stat. They all have profane 33 hit points and profane well rounded 1, and then a save based on the stat. So those are all pretty good. Let's see other stuff. Those are kind of the ones that really stand out. There's gloves for turning. They're pretty good.
I actually like the fact that we're getting 3 new trinkets.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If you scroll down to the epic trinkets, there's 3 new trinkets.
Mm-hmm.
So
There's orbs for most uh, elemental damages, plus healing and negative energy. Yeah, the trinkets are all pretty good. Like there's actually some really good level 21 gear here. Um, and it's a far cry better than, I mean, it's all updated, right? So it's a far cry better than the stuff that you get out of the current level 21, 22 content. So I think there's some stuff in here that you like. I don't think it's gonna make or break your experience at those levels because you're probably gonna go through them pretty quick. But there's definitely some really nice stuff here. Um, there's bracers for the various casting stats that have wizardry on them, which is kind of nice. Magical efficiency. There's also, hey, remember we were talking about the level 2 weapons? There's level 21 versions of these as well. So there's silver versions, which is that are 3W plus 6. They have 5d10 unnatural bane on them. Pretty darn good. As well as destruction, and that are righteous, which makes them good aligned and have a red slot. Great weapons. There's also ethereal weapons, which kind of have the same stats. They are impactful 5d6 and ghostbane 5d10, and they weaken undead. And they're adamantine. I mean, that's actually really good.
So a lot of equipment to help you fight the Reapers.
I mean, not specifically just Reapers, but
No. Mm.
I mean, it's all really good stuff there.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so I
no
I
doubt.
think this is like quality loot to go get at these levels, and kind of round out that TRing experience. I know I'm gonna run through the content probably. Um, so you know, I think it'll be kind of. I like what I'm seeing. The general idea there. All right. So let's talk about Keep on the Borderlands specifically. So it's expected to contain, when released on live, a new public area, an adventure area, 8 dungeons, This preview is only showing the public area, the adventure area, and 4 of the dungeons, which are the level 1s. I'm assuming the other 4 are going to be the higher level ones. This pack is designed to be more of a fairy tale medieval setting. They intentionally made it brighter and more cheery than other stuff.
I'll be the judge of that.
As far as how closely it, there's a question in the chat about how closely does it follow the actual stuff. I don't know.
And I don't either. I did not see the preview this week. Having it drop in the middle of the week is problematic for me sometimes. So I did not get to log in.
Yeah, and I could look at it, but I couldn't tell you anyways because I've never done it, the
Right.
original stuff, or
Yep.
looked at any of it. So my assumption is it's going to be comparable to other things, right? Like usually when they change stuff when it comes to the content, the classic stuff, it has to do more with the game mechanics. So like a super long hallway is a problem from a graphics perspective. That's why they add extra turns and stuff to kind of break that up. Um,
Right.
and stuff like that makes sense to translate from a turn-based game into a real-time game. Stuff like that. Although I think I'm assuming that the if you're running the Curse of Strahd content again, I haven't actually run it, but I'm assuming that the holy symbol and the icon of Ravenloft do not function the same way they do in the raid in DDO. But I also think that's a really cool way to use those items in the raid. So
Sure. No, that was made up for the
yeah,
raid was not in the adventure product.
sure.
So in fact, both raids weren't in the adventure product. Although you did in the Curse of Strahd tabletop game, you did fight Baba Lysaga um, in her swampy ruins of the
Perez.
Berez, uh, but it wasn't anything
Mm-hmm.
like what they had. So
Sure. Anyway, so that's what we got to keep on the Borderlands. Mounts. So this is expected to introduce mounts for player characters in DDO. You can go check them out right now, or you could have if when it was up. There are a couple of videos which we'll mention later. People had. So they can be accessed by Qual of Vesvi at the stables in the keep on the Borderlands.
so Qual is I'm guessing a throwback to Qual's feather token, which
Possibly.
is which is kind of like it's another thing that you might call like a magical miniature item, like a figurine
Mm-hmm.
of wondrous power type of thing.
So mounts, we've talked about this a little bit. They can be summoned in public areas or adventure areas. You cannot use them in dungeons. There's some debate about whether or not they should be in public areas. I don't know that I really care. I don't personally care. But I think from a marketing perspective, it's probably a good idea for them, and probably why. Because more people can see you running around on a mount, and then they'll see it and say, "Oh, I want that," right?
Right. Yep.
So I'm sure that's part of the reason why that's true. Um, they grant either an 80% movement speed bonus to movement speed or a plus 100% movement speed bonus. Um, my understanding is you find bits to in the explorer area to turn them in to get them out. That's what I saw someone mention in my guild's forums. But I have not confirmed that myself. This was not I don't usually go on the money anyways. But I had no real opportunity to keeping track of this stuff this week was a little difficult for me. It's been a busy week at work. So you cannot engage in combat while on a mount. You can dismount by hitting the block key, and there's a chance upon taking damage to automatically dismount. There are 4 different visual variations of horse mounts with an 80% speed version and a 100% speed version of all 4. So there you go. I'm sure there will be more coming, and stuff like that. There's also been some discussion about whether or not we should even be getting mounts. My guess, reading between some of the lines, I mean, obviously they need to keep coming up with ways to get us to spend money in the game, right? Like that's just business. If they're not coming up with
Right.
new stuff for us to buy, the game's gonna fizzle out and die. Now, a lot of people would say to that, "Well, just give us new content." Well, we need more than just content, right? Like
Right.
that's not quite
So
enough.
so compare it a little bit. I mean, obviously, saying some games, DDO and Lotro. I mean, so Lotro's had mounts forever, and a lot of this, if you're familiar with Lotro, a lot of what you're seeing is very familiar. Um, I mean, there might even be down the road you could buy the mounts in the store, which is kind of what they do
Oh,
in
I'm sure there
Lotro.
will be versions you can buy in the store.
Yeah, because you'll have ones that'll be different or faster or
Hmm.
have different barding on them and things like that. Remember too that Lotro is this gigantic wide open space. There's less teleporting and things like that. So something like mounts is pretty cool. Now, if you're in the King's Forest, a mount is awesome
Yep.
because you got this huge gigantic area. Even in Barovia, if they didn't have teleporting, that again, mounts would be cool. Keep in the Borderlands also potentially a gigantic wilderness area. Now, whether they'll have teleporting or mounts or a combination of the two, I don't know. I think it's a great addition. If you don't use them, then don't use them. If you like to explore some of these areas like the King's Forest quicker, I mean, I can remember stumbling around there for days
It's big.
looking for things when that first came out, and that was a huge negative against the King's Forest. So.
It's historically it's been a pretty big negative just in general on the player base, right? Like
Mhm.
one of the things that I really like about Explorers is they give you this more immersive experience. But yeah, it's a pain to run from the doors, right? So they started putting teleporters in, which kind of bypass
Defeats it.
some. It defeats the
Yeah.
purpose, right?
Yep.
And I think this
Yep.
will
Absolutely.
really give you kind of a better option for utilizing these spaces and allow them to keep making some that are big without being a pain point for players. So
Right.
I also think there's an option here. I would be surprised if mounts get too much faster than this. Um, if you're not actually aware, the reason why you can only get to run so fast, it actually has to do with animations and like game mechanics. Like
Right.
it breaks. It looks
Graphics.
bad, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
why you can't. There's a maximum run speed. Um, but I think there's also some opportunity here to have mounts that maybe there's a chance to resist the damage to knock you off, right? So I think there's some options there that you could have with some different kind of flavors and stuff that it's not
Yeah.
just cosmetic.
Like if your horse had more armor on him or
Sure,
something like
yeah,
that.
something like that.
Yeah.
Um, I also have a suspicion that this work is probably very mostly animation based. And my guess is the guy that finished the cloaks, this was his next project.
Sure.
That's my guess.
I would be
So
interested to know if the horses can be killed. If you would then have to res them, or they would have to
I don't
go
think so.
like
No, I
in,
think
or you have to
you just
shrine
get
again before you
dismounted.
could recall them. Okay.
That's kind of the mechanic there. I don't know if
Yeah.
anything's gonna kill them per se, but
Well, I was
like I
thinking
don't
more
think
along
you
the
can
lines
lose
of
it.
like a, yeah, I was thinking kind of like the owl bear pet or stuff like that.
Linabelle also kind of did some. So responded with a couple of bugs. Uh, she said that invisible weapons are likely something that needs to be tackled on a case by case basis. So the specific weapon doing it is relevant. Probably also what your character avatar is, so what race you are, that kind of stuff. Um, she also said that ghost LFMs are definitely something they like to fix. And iconics do not belong on the LFM iconography since they are not classes. In the next update, which we talked about already, they'll finally have the Warlock icon, which should have all the classes represented. There you go. So that's kind of the pass, the middle pass of the release notes and stuff that's coming out. Bonus days, you get plus 30% challenge rewards boost now through today, November 3rd. Also, today is the last day for night revels, so make sure you use all that stuff up. Remember, the ingredients will not save for next year, so use it all up, give it to somebody else, whatever that needs to be, right? So,
Put it in the auction for one platinum piece. I think
or
that's what I did
more if
last
you
year.
like. See the sales. You can store more loot. You can get 20% off of character banks, select shared banks, and platinum storage, inventory space, and bags through November 7th. You can also get 5 lasting barkskin plus 3 potions with the coupon code TREEFORM. Not so exciting, that one.
Tree beard would have been better.
Uh,
But that's Lotro, so
yeah,
prob-
yeah.
probably not. Or Treant. There we go. Treant.
Let's see. Community news. Uh, so this is actually talking about Bonnie Bu's thing. This weekend brings a unique event to fans of both DDO and tabletop, as Bonnie Bu and crew answer the question of what happens if King of Ryum put adventurers in charge for a weekend. This would be the weekend at Wizard King, thing that she's doing for Extra Life. Uh, DDO Stream also held its Extra Life marathon video. The community showed up to support it, so you can check out some of those videos there. Draculetta also did a video preview of horses. Mickey's Delirium also did one as well, although that's not in the Chronicle. The guild for the week. The Arcane Alliance has a new guild leader on Orion and is looking for more members. You can get in touch with Nimnoin or Orlilet on Orion to learn more. The comment: should DDO dice be able to roll off the screen like dice roll off the tables, and what should happen if it does?
Huh?
We know if you're playing pen and paper and you roll the dice off the table,
Sure.
should
I
that
mean,
be able to
I guess
happen on? I
I
mean,
guess
you
I'd
don't
want it
actually
to be
see
like,
dice rolling anywhere, right? It just shows you the die that rolled.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it'd be different if it was like in Fantasy Grounds where you throw the dice and they kind
Yeah.
of slide across the screen. But yeah, I don't that.
No, because they don't actually roll on my screen, right? Like if they actually rolled on
Yeah,
the screen, which would probably be way too annoying because there'd be a lot of dice flying around, right? Um,
sure.
but I don't know. My house rules: if it rolls off the table, you re-roll it.
Yep.
It's got to
Same here.
stay on the
I mean,
table.
there are guys who like will roll it in their little dice bowls,
Yeah,
and if it rolls out, if it jumps outside the bowl, it's no good. It's got to be in the bowl.
yeah. Whatever surface you're going for, it's got to stay in that surface, right? Let's see. Fansite news. We got a shout out for our episode last week talking about flavor and concept builds with Arcot. TDO Players News went to the desert and more for their show. Talking about riding a desert with no name, or a horse in a desert, a horse with no name in a desert. There we go.
Right.
Let's see. Dido Stream is your one-stop shop for discovering great streamers on Twitch. You can check out new shows by Strimtom, The Damsels, and D&D Night. YouTube is also home to Dido video makers. Godbex did a fast Night Revels run. Joe Gamer has tips to get started, and Axel discussed mounts as well. Let's see. Reminder that the Hardcore League ends November 15th. Make sure you get all the stuff taken care of that you need to do there. Let's see. And Cordovan was on Lemania to show off some non-quest contact features coming with the Keep. Check that out as well. Voodoo also discussed Update 44 Lemania release notes if you want to check out his thoughts. We'll link to that as well. And let's see. That actually already happened. The High Lords had
Yep.
their Halloween event. They posted like 2 days before, so I didn't get to put it in the show before that. Ooh. I would hope everyone who was there had fun with that. D&D Night on DDO Stream. We'll have a recorded show this week. It'll actually be a recorded show next week, but it will be a new show, not a rerun.
Yeah. The one tonight is from my bonus D&D night. It is one if you love Draculetta and you want to see him get his comeuppance, check out this episode because this is probably one of the funniest episodes we've ever had.
We are trying to kind of get a little more organized with it to make sure we have new content every week. We've missed a couple weeks because, hey, we're all adults. Some people have families. Some people have kids. Life happens. So we're trying to kind of backlog and get some stuff ironed out to make sure that we'll have a show every week with that. It's just, we realized we needed to do this, and then it was a really bad time to try to organize that. Reed, I was trying to organize it, and it was a really bad time for me to organize it. Let's see. DDOCast news. DDOCast is sort of still going, I think. You guys are still going without me for a couple weeks?
Yep, I got to
Right.
send an email today, make sure everybody's on board for Wednesday. But yeah, we all plan to be 20.
When we okay.
So
When I get back, we're gonna be 20 to 24 range and do some stuff there. But hey, by the time I get back, maybe Creeper on the Borderlands will be out, and we'll run that.
well, yeah, maybe we can run that. Sure.
That'll be Plan A, I think. Yeah, I just have I'm going on a vacation. I hear they're nice, so I'll be gone for there, and work has just been uh, many extra hours making the show happen the last couple weeks. So have not been able to play at our normal time, anyways. So, but hey, you still get to watch some folks play, and you can check that out on twitch.tv/DDOCast on Wednesdays at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, or you can check out the past shows on YouTube as well, or DDOCast.com. I post them all there. All right, that will take us to Lightning Post. Let's talk about. We don't have a whole lot here, but this kind of comes into hardcore, and I've seen this comment come up a few times. So I kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit. So this came into us from Kirkos. It seems like an easy solution. So we're talking about hardcore and dead characters, and being able to get stuff. So he says it seems like an easy solution to just add a mailbox and banker to the nether region of Lost Souls so folks can grab stuff from the TR cache or banks before transferring their dead characters instead of coming up with a way to bring the dead characters back into a real zone. So that sounds really easy, and it is, right? Like they could just throw a mailbox and a banker in there. However, I believe that there is actually stuff that makes it so you can't interact with things, right? You can't cast the teleport scroll to get out of that area, kind of a thing, right?
Right.
You can't do anything. So even if they added that in there, they would, I believe, have to do some work to make it so that you could interact with those. So I don't think it's actually just that easy to put those in there because I don't think it would do you anything.
Yeah.
So, uh, but I don't know. Me personally, if you died and you're not able to get back to the bank, I think I mean, it stinks, but I think that's part of that mechanic, right? Like they did say dead is dead, so and there's never been a promise that dead characters will be able to access this stuff before they go. Now, your character bank will transfer with you, so that's not a problem. Your shared bank, you can get out, you can just roll a new character and take that over with you. That's not a problem. The TR cache, I mean, that's you would lose that. So I can see why that's a problem. I would
Yeah,
also
but how
say
many
that
people hit TR caches though?
probably not a lot, but there's
Yeah.
probably some. I know of at least one guy who died, did die, and that had TR'd. Um, but I also think that like I don't know. Part of me says that it'd be nice if you didn't lose that stuff. Part of me also says that there was never any promises that you could reach, that you would be able to do anything after you were dead, right? Like that you would ever get out of that space. So if you TR'd and you didn't take everything out of your TR cache, then that was a risk you took. I
Right.
don't know. Um, I'm also kind of guessing that most people probably didn't have, like, if you had a TR cache, probably didn't have a whole lot of stuff in there that's like anything rare or anything like that. But I don't know. So I don't know. I don't know what this. I don't think there's necessarily an easy solution. Um, I don't. I think it'd be great if they came up with a way that you could get that stuff out before you transferred, though.
Sure.
But I'm also not going to cry about not being able to get access to that either. So I don't know. I also don't have anyone with a TR cache, so it's easy for me to say. All right, shall we talk about keep on the Borderlands here?
Sure.
So Mr. Beaker, what is keep on the Borderlands?
So, what's so special? What is and what's so special about Keep on the Borderlands? Well, that's a multi-level question. Um, if you go back a few years, Keep in the Borderland was ranked the seventh greatest Dungeon and Dragon adventure of all time for the D&D's 30th anniversary. But there's a lot of people that don't know what it is, don't never played it. If you didn't play first edition D&D in the first 2 decades of D&D, you probably never would, because in later years, even in as early as the 90s, finding a copy of Keep on the Borderlands was a stretch, because there were limited print runs of that adventure. I happen to have one, but there's also been reprints in recent years as well, which I'll talk about in a second. But why was this module so popular? I can't speak for everybody, but I can speak for myself. So I started gaming in the late 70s. But when you can have you for those of us who went out and bought the old red box set, which had all the basic rules in it, or picked up a first edition player's handbook in DMG. There wasn't a lot to play. You had the books and the rules and all this stuff, and it was very cool, but you didn't have anything to play. Remember, a lot of the old classics that we talk about with D&D and TSR adventures, uh, in 78, they published a bunch of tournaments that were run previous years at Gen Con. And these are the other classics. The G series, which was the Against the Giants, huge, huge adventure that's still being revived today. There was the D series, which was the Drow and the introduction of the Underdark and things like that. And then there was the classic Tomb of Horrors, the ultimate death trap dungeon that was created by Gary. But all of those came before 1979. So if you're like me and you got involved in D&D in 77 and 78, well, there was nothing to play. I mean, I didn't want to roll up a character starting at I think the Hill Giant, the first Hill Giant module started at 8th level. So for me, it was just I had these books, I read all the rules. I was thinking about putting together my own adventures, but then there was two adventures that came out that really tipped the tides in it. These were the official first level AD&D adventures. The first one was one called In Search of the Unknown, which personally I loved. Um, but it wasn't my first adventure that I played. It was Keep on the Borderlands is what they call B2. So now they used to number them in the old numbering system. B1 was In Search of the Unknown. I I'm not sure why B1 wasn't circulated as much as Keep on the Borderlands was. I didn't learn about it until years after I had played Keep on the Borderlands, because my little local hobby store didn't carry it. Never carried it. But when my friend John and I found Keep on the Borderlands, then it was off to the races, and we played that adventure forever. He ran it, I would run it. You know, there was just for a 32-page book, there was just so much content there, and you could switch it around. And there was new rules in the adventure module that Gary put in, because this adventure was written by Gary. The first, In Search of the Unknown, was written by a gentleman named Mike Carr, who actually I saw over the weekend at a convention in Madison, Wisconsin. Mike is still very active in the gaming community. Um, but Gary wrote Keep on the Borderlands, and it was first printed in the fall of 79. So it came after all these other classic higher level adventures. Like I said, it was a 32-page book. The cover of the 32-page book, and then a jacket outer folder cover, which in the classic style contained the maps. Um, and written by Gary. The cover art was by a gentleman named Jim Rosloff, and the interior illustrations were done by Errol Otis, who is another one of the classic TSR artists. It was designed specifically for new people who are new to Dungeons and Dragons. So was In Search of the Unknown, but this one was kind of a little bit more player orientated, where the other one was more like, this is how the DM should run things. This is how a DM should handle these situations, things like that. It was based, the whole uh, plot of the whole adventure was there was a keep on the edge of this giant wild wilderness area. And not too far from the keep were this place called the Caves of Chaos. And it was like a little valley in a mountain. And imagine like an upside down U. And the inside of that U was the valley, and then the whole outside was this massive dungeon that was carved into the side of the mountain. I think there's at least 70 rooms in this complex, but there were several different entrances, and some of them didn't connect together. So you'd go into one cave, and then you'd come back to the keep. You'd rest up, sell your stuff, get more equipment. You come back, you go into another cave entrance. And each one was different. One had undead, one had orcs, some had some traps, things like that. So it was kind of a little bit of a more of a variety. In Search of the Unknown was more of a random adventure. The adventure itself listed all the rooms, but then you had to put the monsters where you wanted to put them. Whereas in Keeping the Borderlands, the monsters were all statted out for you in those individual sections. And again, so if you say, well, why is Keeping the Borderlands better than In Search of the Unknown? Again, it was written by Gary. It detailed the keep itself, although ironically, they don't list any names for the NPCs. Whereas in Keeping the Borderlands, they named everything. Or not Keeping the Borderlands, I'm sorry, In Search of the Unknown. Everybody had a name. Whereas in Keeping the Borderlands, there was almost no NPC names. Um, but the keep was all detailed. There was like shops there where you can buy stuff, get stuff repaired, make allies, all kinds of things. And then there was also additional character and monster rules in the module. It also was really the first time that um, concepts such as D&D civilization against the evil wilderness was ever set up as a something that would happen in D&D, right? So you have the kingdom here, and then you have these tribes of orcs over here, or goblins, or the classic goblins are raiding the farming villages adventure. So it's kind of like an open concept for a party who had a wide open area. So you could play Keep on the Borderlands, and then there was assumed to be the rest of this open wilderness where you could then take other published adventures or make your own and put them in there. It was more of a launching point for a DM to or novice DM to start their D&D campaign. And that's why I think more people played Keep on the Borderlands than In Search of the Unknown. There's also, again, there was less work involved in it. Um, Keep on the Borderlands went out of print in the early 80s. It's been reprinted twice since then. Uh, and there was also a sequel, and 2 years ago, Goodman Games worked out a deal with Wizards of the Coast to create these very large reprints of the product. This one's called the one that I'm staring right at, the Keep in the Borderlands one. It's called Into the Borderlands. It contains B1 and B2, and they're tagged as Original Adventures Reincarnated. So, in the case of Keep in the Borderlands, there was actually two printings, two major printings at the start. And there's minor differences between them. Most of them are editing differences, and the same thing with In Search of the Unknown. So both of those instances are included in this book, plus a fifth edition conversion. Um, so if you wanted to get into tabletop D&D and you wanted to kind of retro yourself back to the classic, but you wanted to play fifth edition, which is brand new. Not everybody is as brave as we were back in the day and playing first edition. But if you wanted to play as a fifth edition adventure, you could purchase this product and do that. They did the same thing for Isle of Dread, which I've heard mentioned in DDO circles. And this next spring, they're going to be doing uh, uh, the Barrier Peaks one is the one that they're going to be doing. So that's kind of the history of the product itself. How they're going to do it in DDO, again, I haven't checked out the Lamania, but I'm guessing it's just a large wilderness area, aka that's why we might be getting horses or are getting horses. And here you got these large cave complexes where you can, go in here and then here's your quest areas. Okay. It also probably leaves it open for even more down the future. My only one really big question, Patrick, is you said levels 1 to 2.
Yes.
Originally, Keeping the Borderlands was levels 1 in D&D tabletop form. I'm kind of wondering why they're not mimicking Korthos more directly, or is it?
Well, they are
Well, they want
mimicking Korthos. Korthos is only level 1 and 2.
Oh,
It's
but isn't
Korthos is almost exclusively level 1 quests. In fact, I think the only level 2 is Misery's Peak.
I thought Misery's Peak was level 3.
No, it's only level 2.
Okay, all right,
Pretty
my
sure.
bad. Okay, then hey, rock on. So for those of us who started playing DDO back in the day, when the level 1 area was um Korthos was great. I think this is going to be even better. Now,
I think it'll be better just
eh,
from the standpoint we haven't been playing it for so so
you know what? I
long.
kind of wasn't going to go there, but I do have one other question though. Is it like Korthos? Is there going to be no Reaper here, or do we have to wait till level
I
21
don't
for Reaper?
know. I haven't heard anything about that. I mean,
Because you said that there
they
was going to
haven't
be
said anything
ghost.
specifically.
Yeah, you said there was going to be ghost bane items at level
No, there's
1.
Ghost Touch.
Ghost touch. Okay,
They're
well,
not
still
actually Ghostbane. They're just
got it.
they're ghostly. They
Yeah,
can hit.
but that kind of makes me wonder if this might be a Reaper alternative.
That's a good question, and I'm gonna assume that the level 21, 22 versions can be played on
Sure.
Reaper.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
I don't know. They haven't said anything one way or the other. Um, there's certainly a possibility. I Part of me thinks that they will not allow you to do it on heroics just from the standpoint that it's intended to be a new area,
Right.
which makes sense because I'm sure that's why they look to keep on the Borderlands is because they wanted a new low level experience. And as you're saying, like there's a history of that, right? Like it's
Yes,
intended
and
for a
that's
new
why I
player and to
think
teach new players
new
about
players.
DDO.
Yep,
It's a great
yep.
opportunity there. Um, Although I don't know how much of a tutorial it will be as opposed to just an alternative low level area.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I'm kind of curious about that too because Korthos is very
Tutorial,
tutorial based, whereas I think this
sure.
might be the alternative starting area for people who are already established in the game.
Yeah.
You know,
The I believe you still have to like the first time you ever play DDO. I think you still have to go through Snowy, but I'm not sure if you have to say get all the way through Snowy Korthos or not.
yeah, well, that might
Um,
make sense. I mean, you could still do Korthos and come back and do Keep on the Borderlands
oh
on
sure.
Elite.
I mean,
You
you'll
know,
probably have way more XP than you need to do
right?
both, but you certainly could. I think most
Yeah,
people are gonna go to keep on the Borderlands just because I think it's
sure.
gonna be shinier. There is some decent low level loot that maybe wouldn't be a bad idea to get. Um, yeah, I don't know. I plan on running it just adding it to my rotation just at least initially to kind of get a feel for it and see if I like it and if it makes sense.
Yeah,
And there's
I
some
mean,
loot options there as well. So
yeah, I mean, I'm coming at it from a nostalgia standpoint.
yeah, sure.
It's where I started playing D&D. I can remember the summer between our junior and senior year. My buddy John and I, we just that's all we did the whole summer. Is we played Keep on the Borderlands, and we made up a couple of our own little things that go with it, and it was the great starting point for D&D. Now, my first campaign that I ever ran started with B3, The Palace of the Silver Princess, which I'm hoping that somebody remakes at some point. But that would be awesome if we could get that in DDO because that was a class. That was your first classic go into a kingdom, save the princess type of adventure. And that again is another classic that you would put in this world. So even though B1 came first, B2 kind of was the world that all of these lower level adventures could live in. And I'm hoping that this might attract some of the people who maybe have never played DDO before and saying, hey, there's all this cool stuff over here in DDO.
Right.
That's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, okay. No, I'm looking forward to it. I think they've always done a really great job with the classic modules, right? Like they all look great. They're fun to
Yeah,
play. And
the Curse of Strahd tabletop product versus DDO. I mean, I'd say easily 90% almost identical. I mean, there's certain things you can't do in DDO that you can't do on the tabletop, and I accept that. But and then White Plume Mountain, another really, really good translation. So was Slave Lord, so was Temple, um, so was Haunted Halls. I mean, as long as these are being still being profitable for Standing Stone and for Wizard, I don't see why they can't keep doing them.
Well, they've already said that they want to do Isle of Dread next after this.
Isle
So
of Dread's next. Yep, and I got that. That's another classic. I think we ran that one the next summer, like to death.
sure.
So because that was the old blue box. So you got and they call it the expert set, whereas keeping the Borderlands in Search of the Unknown, that was all the basic set. Um, why were they different? I'd have to ask around. I'm not exactly sure. It came with a couple of different rules, um, but for the most part, they were the same.
Right. All right, man. Anything else you want to say before we close out here?
Um, no, not really. No, I think I'm good.
All right.
You know what? There was something on the tip of my tongue, and I forgot. Don't worry
Oops.
about it. Oops.
Uh, well, thanks, Evilbeeker, for joining me today and to give us that kind of a little history about Keep on the Borderlands. I think it's always fun when we get to talk about the classic modules and kind of give people an idea of what the history is behind them. Um, thanks to all the contributors for DDOcast and to Stone Games and Wizards of the Coast and to Cyber Ears for hosting the podcast. If you'd like to support the show, you can check out our website, DDOcast.com, or you can support us on Patreon. If you have a DDO-themed webpage or you Twitch DDO and you'd like to be featured on our website, you can email us at ddocast@gmail.com. And you can hit us up at ddocast.com for show notes, MP3s, our calendar, previous shows, and other fun stuff. If you'd like to be a part of the show, if you have a comment on this episode, a question you'd like to hear us answer, or topic you'd like to hear us discuss, or you just want to say hi, you can leave us a comment or you can email us at ddocast@gmail.com. You can also find us on social media and follow us for the latest cast updates. I'm at DDOcast on Twitter. That's the best place to follow and stuff. We also have a Facebook page. I'm just a little less good about organizing that particular space. So, until next time, may all your attack rolls be crits, all your chest level appropriate, have fun, and don't forget to gather for buffs.